Japan is making a big mistake. Japan has appointed their first female prime minister.
In Japan, where the parliament has elected the country's first female prime minister.
But they're making a big mistake by moving towards the right side of the politics.
Sanae Takaichi took over as head of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party after the LDP lost its majority in the July election. The party is now teaming up with the smaller right-wing Japan Innovation Party to form a minority government. Takaichi is seen as a hardline conservative who supports traditional gender roles as well as a hawkish foreign policy.
Now, as we all know that we are seeing a gradual change of the geopolitical order, mostly most countries are shifting towards the right when it comes to politics. And this is something that is happening on a geopolitical scale. And I'm sure this is why Japan is also considering this move. And generally, people are seeing more and more favor of people being voted towards the right side of the politics. But the big mistake that Japan is making is that Japan needs a lot of immigrants because they need a lot of workers.
She might restrict the number of foreigners settling down in Japan. She might make it more expensive for foreigners to visit as tourists, for example. And of course, on the other hand, she knows that Japan's economy cannot work without foreigners. So she will let foreigners in, but not in big numbers as before.
Japan is in serious need of workers from outside the country. The Japanese population right now is one of the most highly aged population, and the young people of Japan, they don't want to procreate anymore. So Japan is in a serious need of immigrants flocking into the country because they need a lot of people as workers. But whenever in a country right wing comes to the power, we have seen as with recent examples is that there tend to be in a conservative right wing politics, people are not a big fan of immigrants. So what will happen is that there will be a clash because there's a lot of demand for workers from out of the country because Japan certainly don't have enough people to fulfill the requirements it has from its economy to run the country. So they need people from out of Japan. Now, with a right wing coming into power, there will be a serious conflict because of it. Now, what will happen is that there will be increased racism in Japan, which is already, by the way, a big problem in Japan when it comes to racism. We all know this is something that is not propagated in the news, in the common news properly. We all know that there's a racism problem in Japan. And most probably because of the racism problem, there's now a power shift towards the right wing authoritarian kind of government, which basically means that people are more in favor of anti immigration. Now, if this happens, then there will be a serious problem because Japan needs workers. Japan needs immigrants in the form of workers. So, this is a big problem. Japan as a country should favor left wing politics more than right wing because of the simple reason that it needs more people coming into its country. Now, if there is racism, that's going to create clash. And as you can see from the examples of the recently changed power dynamics of almost all the major countries in the world, where mostly left-wing politics is coming into power, this is a huge problem right now. Japan needs workers to run their economy, and their aging population just shows that they need people from out of the country because their citizens will not be procreating. And we know that much from what we have observed in countries like South Korea and Japan. There is a steady decline, and it is actually hitting a crisis point when it comes to childbirth. No one is interested in bringing another generation of humans. That is quite understandable. And it's a general trend, not in Japan, but in most developed countries. But in mostly, you will see this trend in a lot of developed or semi developed Asian countries. The reason being because the cost of living and the pressure of being in a country like Asia. For example, if you're born and raised in China, I'm pretty sure that you will feel less motivated to bring more children into this world.
How might Takaishi's foreign policy stance, especially her views on defense, affect Japan's role in the world?
Well, Takaichi and Ishin's co-leader Yoshimura want to continue the defense build-up and may raise taxes to finance this extra spending. They want to deter China from invading Taiwan and from occupying Japanese islands in the East China Sea. I think, first of all, Takaichi will aim to establish a good working relationship with President Trump. He will visit Japan from next Monday onwards, and she also has to contain the LDP's anger about the tariffs, the US tariffs, and the $550 billion investment commitment her predecessor made. So she will have to compromise. I think she will attempt to represent Japan as a strong country to the outside and hiding the big dependence on the US.